The new Clone Wars anthology book called Clone Wars Stories of Light and Dark has just released, and in it is a tragic tale written by Dave Filloni's wife, which follows the story of a Dathomirian witch who believed her daughter was slaughtered by General Grievous in the famous separatist invasion of the planet. I'm going to break down exactly what happened in this incredibly dark and heartbreaking story, and why it is so important to the future of Dathomir. Before we get into it, make sure you hit the subscribe button for more incredible Star Wars lore content. 69% of you are not subscribed at the moment, so make sure you subscribe if you enjoy the video. The story begins on the misty, grey outer rim world of Sidi, where a young girl without a name is working at her family's local hotel. The old and badly damaged family hotel didn't get many visitors because of its location in the outer rim, but it did receive the occasional crash landing survivor or people choosing to flee from the dreadful war currently going on. The young girl was often forced by her parents to sweep the rugged floors of the old hotel, ensuring that not a single particle of dust was visible should a guest arrive on the remote planet. On one cold, dark day, the young girl was sweeping the floors and noticed the nearly silent buzz of a large ash beetle with its many wriggling legs alongside the bottom of her broom. Her parents viewed the ash beetles in the same way that they viewed the young girl, just a plain annoyance. The young girl didn't mind the beetles, however, choosing to take one as a personal pet to give her something or someone to bounce her thoughts off. The girl knew that the beetle didn't understand her thoughts or her emotions, but it was better than nothing. It was better than the process of talking to a brick wall that she experienced while trying to talk to her parents. Eventually, she even made a tiny, nearly invisible leash for the bug, taking it on walks around the fenced-off courtyard of the hotel. She really had a deep connection to this thoughtless creature, caring very deeply for it. This was unfortunately shattered to pieces by her dismissive mother, Lyra, who caught the girl walking the creature and crushed it under her heel. The girl fell to her knees in tears, but the mother did not give a single care in the world to it and demanded that she get back to work sweeping the floors of the hotel, calling her a bug as she left the area. From here on out, the young girl simply went by the name Bug, since that's how her mother made her feel about herself, and she couldn't even remember her real name. Wow, this mother is seriously cold. The family hotel had one major attraction that pulled in almost every refugee and crash landing survivor on the planet. On the uppermost floor of the 3-story building, there was an abandoned military communications tower stored away inside a damp, dark room in the attic. The large metal comms device was placed there by the separatists only shortly after the first battle of Geonosis, but the device, and the planet as a whole, was quickly abandoned after they realized it was a backwater location with no strategic value. The young, nameless girl loved to sneak up into the damp room while her parents slept, with her back up against the wall, knees under her chin, listening to incoming transmissions from helpless escape pods, crashing clone transports, and other distress calls. She didn't know it, but she was hearing the final moments of many clone troopers as their ship sent out a final call for help that would never be answered. On one night, she entered a dreamlike state while listening to the incoming transmissions, but was abruptly snapped out of it when a distress call from the planet Dathomir rang out through the speakers of the comms device. The transmission was actually an older one stored in the memory of the comms device from General Grievous's invasion of Dathomir. Make sure you remember that detail, as it will be very important later in the story. She didn't have time to process the mysterious message before a group of travelers arrived in the common area of the hotel. The travelers were a mostly normal looking assortment of humans and aliens from around the galaxy, except for one. There was one woman who was ominously dressed in a black robe with mysterious red markings on her temples and cheeks. As you can probably guess, this woman was a Dathomirian witch from the Red Planet. After sitting down at the table in the common room eating her freshly prepared warm meal, the witch demanded access to the comms device on the top floor to listen to transmissions from her home planet of Dathomir. Lyra, the mother, didn't allow her to do this because she and Bugs' father, Rank, liked to scam all visitors into paying ridiculous amounts to access the device. This is where a large amount of their income came from. The witch eventually stormed out of the hotel to cool off and go for a long walk on the practically empty planet. During this time, Bug decided to sneak into the witch's cramped apartment, hoping to find something. She didn't really know what she was looking for, but she'd never seen someone so mysterious land on her distant world. Inside, she quietly crept around the room where she found an upside-down bowl. Inside the bowl was a clay model of a monarch. The monarch is a piece from the very popular game Dederick. This piece just happened to be the one single piece that Bug was missing from her Dederick set in the hotel's common room. Bug should have known something was wrong after witnessing a coincidence as big as that, but she brushed it off and let it go. Bug quickly rushed down to the hotel common room and added the stolen monarch piece to her collection and began to play a game of Dederick. She had no friends, nobody to play with, so she played both sides of the board, hoping to visualize her own weaknesses and strengths in the game. Bug was so absorbed in the game that she didn't realize the witch from Dathomir had returned and was standing across from her table. The fireplace went dark and the stolen monarch piece had melted away in her hand. This was no regular game piece. This was a piece created with the dark dark magics of Dathomir. Bug was scared to absolute death, but the witch sat down and asked her if she'd like to hear a story. Bug was too scared to respond, but the witch began anyway. She told Bug of a witch who lived in the swampy region of Dathomir, not a member of the Night Sisters clan or any other. Her name was Falter and she was completely alone. Falter had tamed a few small rancor beasts so that she could ride them, and also had a fuzzy dark cat. She was a simple witch who only made contact with the other clans when she needed food or to trade for other goods. The witch sitting across from the terrified Bug told her of the Night Sister tradition to bury the dead in pods wrapped in dead rancor hide. She explained that Falter found this process to be unnatural and instead produced a dark magic that produced the opposite effect. She had the power to create life. Falter collected vibrant blue coral from the Blue Coral Divers clan, bright red berries from Dathomir's Red Hills, and pale brown clay from the Singing Mountain. Now this simple explanation is so cool because it greatly expands the lore of Dathomir, including bringing the Blue Coral clan from Fate of the Jedi from Legends into canon, as well as the Dreaming River from the Book of Sith Legends sourcebook, as well as the Red Hills from the Courtship of Princess Leia book. Falter eventually bundled these items together into the leaves of the trees that surrounded her home and sung songs of Dathomir witch magic to the pile. Eventually, the pod changed colors from green to purple to red, finally opening up to produce a young Dathomirian witch, created solely from the magic of Falter. Falter named the baby witch Yenna and took care of her from her birth all the way up until she was old enough to roam the plains of Dathomir. At this point, the witch telling the story to Bug inside the hotel was becoming increasingly tense, with a deep red glow emanating from the bowl that was sitting on the table. The red glow illuminated the eyes of the witch, further petrifying Bug, but she couldn't move. Her legs felt too heavy with fear to run. The witch continued the story, telling Bug that Mother Talzin of the Night Sisters clan contacted her and demanded that she bring Yenna to her to become a member of the Night Sisters. Falter did not allow her daughter to join the war-crazy clan of warriors and instead chose to bring her home. On her way out of the Night Sisters camp, however, Talzin said something that brought a strong rage to Falter. She told Yenna that if she ever wanted more in her life than a quiet existence living alone with your mother, you were welcome to join the Night Sisters clan. Many months went by without Yenna taking this offer up, but eventually the dark day came. Yenna went missing, but Falter knew exactly where her daughter had gone. She had traveled across the swampy terrain to join the Night Sisters. Falter accepted this fate for her daughter for many months until she received the chilling news that Grievous had massacred the entire Night Sisters clan. Falter's heart sank, but she rushed across the almost impassable terrain to the Night Sister camp to see whether her daughter was among the dead. Upon arrival, nobody was left except a dying Old Ducker. Old Ducker told Falter in her dying moments that her daughter Yenna was in fact safe and sent off-world before Grievous slaughtered the Night Sisters. This brought incredible relief to Falter, but now the almost impossible task of locating her daughter was upon her. The witch telling the story then dropped a shocking revelation on Bug. She was Falter. She was the one looking for Yenna, and this was her life story. I'm sure some of you guys already guessed that, but let me know down below if you did. After Bug realized this shocking truth, she went into a deep, dreamlike state, gazing into the red glow of the witch's magic that was still coming out of the bowl. When she was eventually knocked out of this state, she was furious to learn that Falter had hypnotized her with witch magic and gotten her to unlock the door to the comms device room. Bug was incredibly angry with the witch, but after hearing the story, she didn't really have any choice but to play back the recordings on the comms device from earlier. So if you remember the archive transmission from the start of the story, this was actually Mother Talzin and the Night Sisters sending Yenna away to safety when General Grievous arrived on Dathomir. After this, Falter could sense that Bug wanted to run away from the horrific life with her parents at the hotel, and they escaped together on the hunt for her missing witch daughter. Let me know down below if you're excited to see their journey continue in future content. Thanks for watching, cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.